Oh my gosh, this is.
This is real.
We should have done a trial.
Yeah.
This is your trial, man. You got 2 minutes. 2 minutes to try. You ready?
I hope you're a master at editing.
Welcome to the St. John Alive podcast. We are privileged to be joined today by Jonathan Eastlick, Rob Tukoski, and Sarah Smith. And today we are talking about, we're continuing our conversation actually from weeks ago when we had your wives on the show and we got their perspective from, we got the mom's take on Lent. And so by the time this is published, Lent is over. So we're just going to talk in general about our mission as Catholic dads. We're going to get your take on it. Hopefully hear some funny stories about, glass breaking in the church and all that fun stuff. Yeah. So thank you, gentlemen, for taking time out of your day to come and chat with us and
welcome.
share your journey. So as always, this is the St. John Alive podcast where we are sharing stories of faith and bringing discipleship to life here in Fenton. So let's dive in. Gentlemen, you may have heard, I have heard most of my life about this study that came out apparently in 1994. I looked this up today. It's actually kind of old. I thought it was a little bit newer than that, but a lot of people leverage this study to put the pressure on Catholic dads. And because I guess the result of this Swiss study that they did was that they were looking at what keeps people in faith. I don't know that it was specific to the Catholic religion, but that's how we're going to frame it. So what keeps people Catholic throughout their life? And they found that they were looking at participation of the parents. Was it mom, was it dad, or was it both? And it was very clear by the time they were done with the study that if both mom and dad were churchgoers, the kids were extremely likely to be churchgoers as they grew up, followed not by what people would think. A lot of times people think that the influence comes from mom, but it was actually very heavily in dad's favor. If dad was a churchgoer, the kids were ridiculously more likely to be churchgoers when they grew up than if it actually the study went the other direction. If mom was the only churchgoer in the family, the kids were actually less likely to come back to church, which is super crazy to me. So no pressure, right, as dads. So how do you guys feel about that pressure and that challenge? And what have been some of your challenges and triumphs in being that example for your family, for your kids? I realized I completely skipped the whole intro. So if you guys just want to start by telling us about your families. Jonathan, you've got a few kids. Rob, you've got a few kids. Why don't you tell us about your kids for a little bit? Rob, it's way easier to talk about your family.
Me and my wife, Lindsay, we've been going to St. John's for, she'll tell me I'm wrong, but probably 5-6 years. I have 3 girls. She's 10. Yeah, thumbs up. My oldest, Evelyn, is 10. And then Loretta is going to shortly be 9. And
Nice.
Rosalie is shortly going to be 6. So 3 girls. They do all the altar serving and everything, which is a huge driver for coming to church, You
Yeah,
always get the
absolutely.
compliments after church. Oh, your kids are so awesome up there, And my wife always says, if the girls didn't serve, I'm not sure people would know who we were. So it
It's
ties
a
the
little
whole
bit-
family together,
Yeah.
That's awesome. It is a really great way to integrate into the community because then everyone
Yeah.
can see you.
Right.
Yeah.
Working here was the social icebreaker for my family. Now, I'll have people come up and talk to me. No offense if you're listening to this and I did this to you. They'll come up and they'll talk to me and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And they know my first name. They know my kids' first names. And I'm like, it's good to see you.
Right.
And I will purposely avoid names because I'm like, I didn't even realize we knew each other. But that's the wonder of this community. I absolutely love it. Everyone is so friendly and welcoming.
The trick to that, if you forget somebody's name, if you're in a social setting, you will go to somebody who you think knows their name, and you will introduce them, or you introduce somebody new to them, and then they'll say their name. So it's I don't know this person's name. Oh, hey, have you met Bob over here? Oh, hey, Bob, my name's Jen. It's okay, Jen, all right.
Yeah, speaking of Jen, I may or may not have used my wife to do that several times.
Yeah, it's good. That's
Hey, this is
exactly.
my wife, Jen.
That's the trick. I might have learned that from you, Alan. Actually, thinking about that. So
I mean, maybe that's how I learned your name. I don't remember. Who knows? It was years
Who
ago.
knows?
Tell us about your family, Jonathan.
Yeah. So I think we've been members of the parish for 3 years. My wife Katie got baptized here and confirmed here That was actually before I think she's been a member for a lot longer than I have, because that probably happened 7 years ago. So when she got confirmed and baptized, she became a member here. We both are converts into the church. We both came in about 7-8 years ago. Originally, we were going to a parish down in Jackson, Michigan, Queen of the Miraculous Medal.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So that parish and the pastor there was pretty influential on myself and our family. Since being in the church, we have had 3 children. Our oldest is Maria; she's 6 years old. Then our second oldest is Samuel. He's going to be 5 here very soon. And then our youngest is Samuel, who just turned 2. And so, joining the church and kind of beginning to take on the mission and the Catholic narrative has been instrumental in terms of our marriage. And then when we finally decided, okay, let's be a part of St. John's family, it was a no-brainer to begin to meet other families with a like mind.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what have been some of those challenges along the way? You said just coming into the church and kind of finding your place in the St. John family. And you too, Rob, you haven't been here like, you said what, about 5 years, 6 years? That's about how
More
long
like
we've been
7,
here.
8.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Okay,
our
see,
family's
all right,
our family's coming on
She's on
like,
the wife's side.
yeah, our family's coming on like 5 years. So
Time flies when you're having fun, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. What have been some of those challenges to that journey into the community and through the community and with the community that you've experienced over the years, and what have been some of the joys and the triumphs?
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
No,
yeah.
yeah, no.
So
I was just gonna make some stuff up.
so like
If you haven't figured it out, Rob, that's what we're all doing right now.
coming into any church body, but in my, me being a convert and everything like that, and just, so Katie and I are, for work, I'm an extrovert. I'm in sales, so I have to meet a lot of different kinds of people, and so I'm used to saying, hey, I don't know, hi, my name's Jonathan, what do you do here, yada, yada, yada. Katie's a little bit more of an introvert. We're both very like homebodies, and so there are some, there's some like churches you go to and you walk in the door and people are giving you hugs, and they're coming up to you and there's a whole line of people that are like, oh, it's fresh meat, let's go shake their hands. In the Catholic Church, that has not been my experience, which is. I kind of like it, but because it seems more legit. Because when you have a line of people coming up to say thank you, like, oh, it's so great to have you here, it's like what's the catch?
It's like a forced kind of like,
yeah,
hey, how's it
it's
going?
like it's very rehearsed feeling. But
I do like a little bit of that. I mean,
Yeah, I do
just
too.
like a, I guess, general friendship and
sure.
like knowing people, but
Yeah.
not the extra.
Well, and that goes into like a whole thing, like, okay, what should be the faith life in the community? There's got to be places where new people can go. But the like, when I go to mass, my thing, the thing is, when I go to mass, it's like I'm there for the body and blood of Jesus Christ. I'm not necessarily going to mass to try to find my new best buddy.
Right.
So it's not necessarily the place of encounter for other people, in my opinion. So because the mass is it's the mass, right? It's not like social gathering like in some places. Sure. You kind of have to find your niche within the Catholic Church. That's really tough sometimes.
Yeah.
The coming in the Catholic Church of saying like, okay, what do I do now? So you have to find people, like-minded people within the church. It's a big organization, a big institution with lots of different kinds of people. And so you have to make an effort. That's what's tough. You have to find people that have a like mind. And there like in every parish, there's people that they want to get together. They want to do stuff. Sometimes you have to find them. And that can be tough if you don't have if you are just waiting for somebody to come and greet you. That has not been in my experience. That was tough.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Rob? Coming into the community, like, yeah, there's a whole dynamic of like going to mass, and we go to the mass for the Eucharist. But what were some of those things that were important to you in a faith community that you were looking for that you found here that were maybe key for the formation of your family?
Honestly, when me and my wife first got married, we were searching for like our church, you know. So we went to a couple of churches here, we went to a couple of churches here, and then am I too quiet? Sorry.
There you go. No, you're good.
And then we finally landed here,
Sure.
and it was just something about, I don't know if it was the church or if it was the people, or maybe we just felt more comfortable because we're pretty close to a couple of different parishes, but this one just felt right, you know. And I would say up till probably about 3 years ago, we weren't like steady churchgoers. I traveled a lot for work, so that kind of played into that. And then just like out of the blue, my wife's like, I want you to be more like a real man. Like I want, I'm like, what do you mean? I am like, you know, I am a real man. And
If anyone were to
that's the
ever
way I
ask me,
took
like,
it.
just close your eyes and think of like one person you would describe as like a real man, I'd be like Rob Tukoski. I think it's the beard.
yeah, it's all for show. But she meant, you know, a real Christian Catholic man.
Yeah, I
you know,
gotcha.
like lead the family. Just, you know, so and then like that was the turning point, I guess. And like back to your study, I think that was, it kind of like opened my eyes, and like if they think that dad's going, then that's just like a regular rhythm. And I think a lot of it was like me and my wife kind of struggling, going back and forth. Like from that point forward, it was kind of like a united front.
Sure.
And like,
Yeah.
this is what we do on Sunday, period. Now the girls get up just like it's a school day.
Right.
You know, it's just another day of the week, and which is just part of the rhythm, you know, the cycle of each week. And like when we went on vacation last week to spring break, we found a church down there. We went to a different church, and the, you know, priest is like, oh, you know, like sign a same thing, like, oh, hey, how's it going? And like gives the hugs and stuff, and like, where are you guys from? And, you know, like, hey, why don't you just go ahead and move down here? And, you know, I'm like, all right.
That's a very forward invitation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But it was, you know,
I like that.
I think there was like maybe 12 people in the church.
Well,
It was
yeah.
maybe the size of our chapel, so it was like super small, and just, you know, they didn't have any big, you know, organ or pianos or nothing like that, so it was like very organic, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
You could
it-
have half the population with your family.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
yeah,
and-
pretty much.
you know, go back to my earlier statement about, you know, it's a large organization. You know, Queen of the Miraculous Medal down in Jackson, that's a big church. There's a lot of people going to that. St. John's, it might actually be, on the books, the largest parish within the Diocese of Lansing. So it is going to be different, but just depending on the parishes you're at in terms of the welcoming.
Right. And the amount of people that are actually there to do stuff, and
Sure.
you know, like, I guess if it's the same tight-knit group of people, you get to know everyone's, like, you know, benefits, failings, everything. But at least in the big church, there's like a cycle, and it seems like, you know, volunteers will kind of cycle through, or different groups will cycle through, and I think it's good just to keep it mixed up, you know.
Right.
So
And they're at 8:30 Massers.
yeah,
Yeah, which that's a
Try to
feat.
get it
That's a
over
feat
with.
with littles.
not
Well,
in
yeah,
a-
I guess
not
you know,
over with in a
yeah.
bad way, but like I'd like to sleep in on the weekends, so I think my wife likes, like, no, we're gonna go to 8:30 so that we have a full day, you know.
Oh, if Katie, if Katie had her way, we would definitely go to an earlier mass. But I started doing Eucharistic, I became a Eucharist minister, and like I told him, 11:30, that's the time we're going. No, I'm always scheduled for 11:30 every single week. And she's like, are you serving this week? I'm like, yeah, I am. What time? 11:30. Gosh, Elijah's gonna miss his nap. So our family would probably do better to go earlier in the morning too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually
it.
we tested it out with our kids, and we're like, okay, let's try Saturday night and see how that goes. And then we tried 8:30, and we tried 10, and we tried 11:30, and it almost every single one of them was a fight except for 8:30, because they're still like too groggy to actually fight you.
Fight you,
So
yeah, right.
it actually worked out. In our house, Mom and Dad can't get up that early on a Sunday, so,
Yeah, that's,
especially if Genevieve's working and I got to do it with all five by myself. I'm
Yeah.
like, oof, yeah, we're doing 11:30.
yeah, 11:30. That's
There was a
our
couple
go-to.
that started going to 8:30, and I know it's not like the Lenten part, but like that's part of my Lent, like give, fast, you know, pray, all that stuff. And so I, like, in the parking lot, the wife went over to Coffee and Donuts before class, and I like swung by, and I felt like a super creep. But it's like, oh hey, how's it going? Haven't seen you at 8:30 before. You new to the church? And they're like, no, we've been going here like 9 years. But they had a new kid, and I just wanted to like give them that welcome feeling, So, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
not
Good
super,
for you, man.
That's
I'm
bold.
good for
I'm
you.
kind of like a learned extrovert. I'm like kind of like you because I
Yeah.
interact with a lot of people.
Right.
But like at the end of the day, I'm just like,
It drains you.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
super draining.
You're an introvert in an extrovert's life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and
learned.
now I have him being a catechist too.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, no, I do the same thing. Like we'll be sitting in the pew and I'm like, oh, there's another big Catholic family. I don't know them yet. Like I secretly want to like walk over and introduce myself. But,
Yeah.
yeah, because I work here, I should probably have the guts to do that, but I sometimes I don't. So. Either that or like my kid is like dragging my arm down and anyway, whatever. So speaking of mass, it's always entertaining to try to wrangle kids at church. So what have been some of your best and or worst experiences in mass? Any funny stories? I'll actually lead off, and it wasn't even my story. It's not my story to tell, but it was shortly after we got here to St. John. I was working on something. I was probably doing some Sunday morning programming, and Genevieve had the kids at mass by herself, and I was coming in late because I had finished my program late. And so I was standing in the back waiting for, I think it was the gospel reading to finish, and I just heard this commotion toward the front of the church, and then I heard glass breaking and kids screaming, and I thought to myself, "Oh, that really sucks. Like, whoever's sitting around that lady should probably help her out." And then out of the pew comes my wife with the like little twins in tow, and I'm like, "Oh no!" I realized what had happened is she had some like I don't know if it was Cheerios or whatever. But she decided that day she was going to put it in a glass lock container and did not realize that the backpack was open. And so she went to like take a kid for a diaper change and whipped the backpack around, and the glass lock went across the center aisle. And I guess Father Harvey was there that Sunday. So it was like visiting priest. We didn't really know a whole lot, but everyone else did. And so it was just like, she was super embarrassed. By the time she got to the back of church, she's just red in the face. And I'm like running up with a broom and a dustpan. And it was quite the commotion. So. But luckily, a lot of people around just kind of jumped up and dove in and helped her out. So
Nice.
there was one lady in the back that was like, "Where's that lady's husband?" And I'm like, "I'm coming. I swear I'm here."
I don't have necessarily a lot of stories of embarrassing moments at mass. I mean, I have a couple, but I feel like I can't share them all. You have anything, Rob?
Not really. I think like I was listening to the podcast before where like you're just staring at the floor and you're like, oh, that's a pretty rock. And then like,
Oh, Dale.
like, hey, we gotta go up and get Eucharist, like, oh, okay. All right. So I'd say that's probably about it. People say I have a memory like a bunny tail, short and fuzzy. Like my wife will tell you if it's 4 years back, that it's just like erased from the data bank. So there could have been something that
like a
happened, but
blessing
I'm
and
a
a
very
curse.
just like forget about it, and I don't really get embarrassed real easy. But so
It's awesome.
I can't think of embarrassing moments. Kids are always. It's like every Sunday is an embarrassing moment sometimes. We have a 2-year-old and he does not have volume control. So, I mean, he'll start yelling potty. It like as the consecration's happening. So it's like that's embarrassing, but it's more embarrassing. I don't know.
I actually love that.
I was going to say most
yeah,
people have
I'm
said
like,
oh, we don't care.
Right.
We don't care. We actually like hearing the cries and the whimpers and the whatnot throughout the church, and I do too, except when they're my own children. I would say a lot of my stories that are coming to my head are with our son Elijah, just because he's the youngest and he's really the one that is the most disruptive. We'll let him sometimes take little cars into mass, and he'll chuck them across. He'll throw them at somebody.
Oh, that's my favorite.
That's embarrassing.
Hard objects.
A mass story. Actually, this is not like
Which I think, by the way, that's why our family decided to start sitting behind you, so that
you
when our
guys-
kid throws something, it's you that gets hit.
good. I'm
we know
fine with
Jonathan
that.
can
I am
handle
fine
it.
with that. Yeah, I'm fine. And then I'll probably turn to and be like, we're not going to take that, are you? Throw it back. No.
It's like Hot
And then
Wheels
like
Wars in
during
the middle of
mass, there's like toys flying over. Okay, yeah. I was at mass hasn't even started. I was at the Queen of the Miraculous Medal with my brother Nathan, and we are sitting in pew, and he's not Catholic, and he's asking all these questions about what's going on. Like, what's that over there? Why is that person wearing that? And I'm trying to answer this. Well, mass hasn't started. There was a lady who was she was beautiful. I mean, her voice was absolutely stunning. She was singing, doing special music to the lead up to mass, and I'm trying to explain to my brother, and I thought I was being quiet. All these things are happening. Well, there was somebody that was sitting behind us who grabbed me by the shoulders and was like, "Can you please be quiet so I can listen to this music?" And wow, yeah, I don't know if it was embarrassing. I was like so upset because it's like I was trying to explain to him, this guy who could be a potential Catholic, like everything that was happening. You stopped us, so that was like that's on my top 3 worst. Oh, actually, I just thought of another embarrassing moment. I was watching. It was my first time at a Monday Thursday service, and they were doing a play of The Last Supper, and the guy who was playing Peter sounded like Kermit the Frog.
Oh no!
And I was sitting there with my friend Jordan, and she kept on like going like this, saying, "He sounds like Kermit the Frog." And I start laughing. So like during this very somber scene, they're at the table trying to debate like who's going to betray Jesus. Peter starts talking and what does Kermit the Frog sound like? That's what he sounded like. And I start laughing, and this lady.
Well, I was really hoping for a Kermit the Frog impression. I was waiting for it.
I don't even know. I can't even visualize Kermit's voice in my head. And so I'm laughing, and very similar situation. Somebody kind of tapped me and was like, "Are you Catholic?" And I said, "No," because at this time I was going through RCIA. I was like, "No, I'm not." And they're like, "Oh, we can tell."
Oh,
brutal.
And I'm like, I know what's going on. I'm like, I'm not laughing because this is funny. I'm just laughing because my friend's saying that guy sounds like Kermit the Frog. He does.
I could just see it now. Do you think it's funny that Jesus was crucified?
No, pick a better actor. That's all I'm asking. Just pick a better actor.
Sometimes
they
you
were
gotta take
wonderful
what you can
human
get.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you do a play of The Last Supper, and you don't cast like Kermit the Frog as Jesus or something.
That's hilarious.
I have that problem too. Laughing in like the wrong.
Yeah, so that's up there, the most embarrassing moments. So
That's really funny. We had a Monsignor when I was in like high school. I absolutely love this guy, and I'm not speaking ill of him at all. In fact, he just recently passed away, but he was my favorite to go to mass with because he sounded like, just his intonation and his voice sounded like he was reading a fairy tale every time he spoke. He was like, "Good evening, my holy saints." And it was awesome once you got used to it. But the first couple of times, like if someone new walked into the church, they're always like, what's happening here? Did I miss something? Is this a joke? Because you just have to pick up on his personality. It was awesome, but it was always very distracting at first. It's hilarious.
I like a good theatrical reading.
Yeah, that's the best, isn't it? When people get super dramatic,
Like
when they're
really
reading
into
readings.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they don't sound like Kermit the Frog. But,
I like it. Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. So I want to thank you, Jonathan and Rob and Sarah, for taking the time out to come and sit in on the episode and share your journey with us, share some of your highlights and your struggles. And we appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. If you're still with us, thanks. And if you haven't checked out last week's episode, Sarah gives us a rundown of what goes on through Holy Week. It's the wrap up of our Holy Week series. So check that out if you haven't yet. And we will see you in the next one.